Hey there, YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in here again on the channel. This is Son of Liberty. So today's review, we're going to be talking about my experiences with the Glock 48, both good and bad. So stay tuned, guys. You don't want to miss this one. All right, guys, so I'm going to do this review just a little bit different. So I've got quite a bit of range footage, but I also want to share with you guys some of the experiences that I was having with my personal Glock 48. So anyway, let's go ahead and fast forward to the range, and then we'll come back to the table, and we'll talk about some of the finer details and give you guys my afterthoughts. Hey guys, Son of Liberty here, and I'm back at the range for testing part 2 of the Glock 48. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my review, the initial review of the Glock 48, let me kind of give you a little bit of backstory if you've not seen that. So when I first got the 48, I was really excited because I was able to get one the day that it came out, thanks to my local gun store, Cover Your 6 Customs, located in Johnson City, Tennessee. So I got the gun home and I was running some drills from my executive holster from Harry's Holster. I had my 43 in this for a while, and when my 48 came in, it actually fit, so I was really happy about that. So immediately when I first started working on my dry fire drills at home, I realized that I didn't have my extended slide stop. Now, I've ran extended controls on all of my Glocks since I've been shooting, so probably the past 10 years. So I swapped the 43 slide stop over to my 48. Basically, I just swapped the parts out. And I really got caught up with just the hustle and bustle of life. I'm in the middle of a move and a lot of other things that are going on. And honestly, I completely forgot that I had still installed that extended slide stop because I'm so used to having it there that it feels normal to me. So I became complacent. I came to the range and I put 500 rounds through my 48. I had a lot of malfunctions, okay? So up until that point, I believe that it was, I just had a lemon, okay? Is what I stated in my review. So because I hadn't really found anybody else that was having issues. So I got some user feedback. I got had some great conversations with some people, and I do appreciate some of those personal messages, not only through YouTube but also through my Instagram page. There is a difference between the spring tension between the 43 and the 48. So let me actually roll in a picture real quick to show you the difference between those two. So anyway, lo and behold, with those malfunctions, again, even after talking to Glock really never asked me any questions if I had changed any parts out, and it still hadn't even clicked yet. So obviously I posted the review, and a lot of people were upset, and with a good reason. I had posted a review and possibly a negative reflection on the Glock 48 that was possibly my fault. So I absolutely want to accept responsibility for anything that I have done wrong. So that's the reason why I'm back here to actually test the Glock 48 with the factory slide stop installed in it. There, you guys can see that, okay? So everything is still stock, and I'm going to try to run at least 150 rounds to 200 rounds, hopefully before it rains on me, and just hopefully can confirm that it was a user error and not Glock error. So anyway, let's get to shooting. All right, so testing Glock 48 part 2. So guys, that concludes testing part 2 of the Glock 48. Now I've got to say that I honestly wish that those would have been my results from testing day 1, but unfortunately due to my negligence and oversight that was not the case. And so the reason why I'm actually redoing this video. So just to kind of give you a generalized number amount for the people that was not able to see the first review, I ran 500 rounds through the 48. And probably 25 to 35% of those were malfunctions. And so it was a constant struggle. I decided to make the best of it and just really kind of work on malfunction drills. I mean, honestly, what better way to do that? But obviously that was due to my failure to remove the extended slide stop that I had installed from my Glock 43, the aftermarket slide stop. So anyway, I do want to accept full responsibility for that and my oversight, and really just offer my sincerest apology to the individuals that are really upset. And honestly, I can understand why. I've been a long supporter of Glock, and obviously this was my fault and not the gun's fault, okay? So I do want to accept the full responsibility for that. And for the individuals who kind of know about some of the personal things that I'm going through behind the scenes, I want to thank you guys for your personal messages and your encouragement, okay? It really does mean a lot to me, okay? But with that being said, guys, I want to kind of give you now some feedback on how the gun felt now that I was able to put an additional 200 rounds through the gun and it ran as it is intended to without those malfunctions. So now I had the opportunity to run an additional 200 rounds through the gun without the gun malfunctioning at all. I want to give you guys an updated feedback. I feel like that's justifiable. So to kind of recap just a little bit, my first day of testing, I shot 500 rounds. And because I think of some of the majority of the malfunctions I was having, it was really hard for me to get a good solid feel of the overall recoil of the gun, how it felt, and so forth. So I have a much better overall feel of the gun now with the additional 200 rounds. And I've got to tell you that now, after doing that, I can say this, at least with my confidence, that the Glock 48 is a little bit softer shooting pistol than the 43. It's not by much, but this does feel like it's a softer shooter. I would feel comfortable putting this in the hands of a new shooter or a female shooter because of hand size. This size of grip really makes a lot of sense for, large all the way down to small size hands. I wear large gloves, considered large hands, and this full frame, I mean, it fits me like a glove, okay? So to kind of recap also too on some of the things that I talked about, I'm really happy that they came out with the front cocking serrations here on the Glock 48. Now, a lot of people aren't happy with that. Obviously it's user preference. I think it would have been cool if they came out with either or. All right. But for me, I like the fact that I can constantly press check. It's just something I'm comfortable with doing because I can be forgetful, right? Obviously, the reason I'm making this video, I can be forgetful. And when it comes to safety, it's something that I don't feel like I can do enough when it comes to practicing dry fire drills and those types of things and doing, overcoming the garment here with a weighted mag, a full mag, right? Not one in the chamber. But I am constantly checking to make sure that chamber is clear. And regardless of how you feel about it or how stupid you feel it is, as long as it makes me safer in the environment that I'm in, that's all that matters to me, okay? So obviously a lot of personal preference when it comes to front cocking serrations. I like the fact that I can run the gun from here, clear malfunction from here, whatever the case may be. Next, the sights. Obviously they are Glock plastic sights, they're trash. Upgrade those as soon as you can. In the first video, I didn't know that they were a option, but now I have found out that you can order these directly from Glock with the upgraded AmeriGlow sights, which I really like them. And to kind of give you some feedback, apparently what I found out of talking to the people or the owner of AmeriGlow, he actually worked for Trigicon before leaving Trigicon after 12 years and starting up his own business, AmeriGlow. So the guy really knows what he's doing, and I really like their sights, and they're very affordable. So those will be the first things that I upgrade. And when I when I ordered this from my dealer, I don't think that he knew that you could do that. I certainly did not know that that was an option at the time, or I would have. Next, the trigger. Now, the trigger on this gun, it definitely don't feel like the 43, at least mine doesn't, okay? And if you are new to the shooting world, and you haven't bought a whole lot of guns, new guns anyway, the next time you go to buy a new gun, or the next time you're at a local gun store that has multiple 19s, multiple 48s, whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter what the manufacturer is, pick up 3 of the same identical gun and dry fire all 3 of those, and I promise you that all 3 of those triggers are going to feel slightly different, okay, if you're paying attention and you know what to kind of look for. Obviously, that just comes down to, mass production and tolerances within the guns themselves. They're all going to feel a little bit differently. So for my experience with this trigger is it has a hard wall as well as a hard break, okay? The 43 that I had, and I think what they were going for was a soft wall and a rolling break. But obviously, for me, I got the exact opposite. It's still not bad, but I can tell you that it does not feel like the standard, the industry standard 5.5 that Glock traditionally has in their factory guns. Okay, so moving on to the grip, I kind of talked about that recently. I have large size hands, wear large size gloves, and I think that all the way down to even small size hands, this frame is really going to fit the bill for a lot of people. Whether you're a new shooter or whether you're just a smaller person that's looking to get better recoil mitigation, I believe that this size of frame is really going to answer a lot of that for a lot of people. So I do like the way that the frame itself feels. Now, the only thing that I could possibly see that could be an issue with this frame is how aggressive this beaver tail is, okay? Now, I don't have very meaty hands, okay? I don't have, I've not worked with my hands a lot in the past 15 to 20 years. It's been more from a administration standpoint. Except even when I was working out, I still didn't develop the hand muscle that a lot of people have, okay? So maybe you are a mechanic, you work with your hands all the time and you've got a lot of meat here. You may experience a lot of discomfort in that back beaver tail because of how aggressive it is. And honestly, I like some user feedback. So if you've got like extra large hands, you've got really meaty, muscular hands, or you've just got really large hands, just give me some feedback, guys. I'm just curious to see how the gun responds to you. Have you had any slide bite issues? Have you had any failure of the slide not cycling all the way that it's supposed to because it bit into your hand? So anyway, just looking for some user feedback from you guys that have ran it. But lastly, the thing that I don't like about this gun is the finish that they went with. So I don't know if Glock had some extra finish laying around in the warehouse and they were like, we need to use it, right? But I would have preferred black. This type of material, if you're OCD like me, this material shows up fingerprints, grease, oil, tremendously bad. I find myself constantly having to wipe this thing, and the fact that it still needs to be cleaned from after where I've shot it is driving me a little nuts. So anyway, if you're OCD and that drives you crazy, obviously you can Cerakote it, okay? That's one option, but I would prefer them to offer another option such as black, and maybe this one, and just do a limited run of these. Again, it's just personal preference, but it is what it is. But overall, I would still recommend this gun to anyone who was interested in purchasing it. So now let's talk about magazine compatibility. So on the left we have the Glock 43. On the right we have the Glock 48. Now when the 48 was announced and I learned that it was a single stack 9mm, I automatically thought that the magazines would be backwards compatible with the 43. Obviously that is further from the truth. If we take a look at the size comparison, obviously the 48 is a much thicker and wider single stack 9mm than the 43. So obviously it's going to give us some problems when we are trying to find something that will accommodate this magazine size. So I thought, well, if this one is much larger, then there's a possibility that it would fit maybe with a 9mm standard Glock 19 magazine carrier, right? So this is one of my Tier 1 concealed holsters. This is for my Glock 19, and way too loose. And even tighten that down as much as I can, it's just not enough. It's just too small. So I thought, well, maybe if I go with the CZ, this is my Tier 1 Aegis for the CZ P10, too loose. And again, despite tightening that up as much as I have tried, it's too much room, so that wouldn't work. So obviously I needed to look at something else outside of the norm, so to speak. So I was digging around on Harry Holster's website, and I came across this universal magazine carrier. Let me get that for you real quick. So this is the universal magazine carrier, and it's actually quite large for its size and for what it does. I did have some initial concerns when I first got it because of the size, but I've got to tell you, it is extremely comfortable. Now, a lot of that is going to come down to the design of this and how rounded all the edges are and how everything is just tapered very nicely, okay? But let me just kind of give you a comparison in size. This is the G-code magazine carrier for the Glock 43. All right, so it's a very small, compact one, and there's a side-by-side comparison. So again, it is much larger. However, what I have found by running this in the past and running this one over the past several weeks, that this is a much more stable platform. So let me just kind of tell you how this works. So this has a piece in the center, and you guys can see some of it there. But what this does is, as you tighten this key here, all right, this is going to push this further into the center, and that is going to create resistance. So here we have a Glock 48 magazine, and if I push it all the way down, I can get really deep concealment, right, which I think is really nice. I really like this. However, this would probably be a little bit too loose, so let me just go ahead and just crank on it just maybe 1/2 of a turn, and now you can see it's much more harder to get in and out of the carrier itself, okay? So one of the things that I had learned that when you order one of these, and guys, I think with my discount code, if you ordered one of these, I think it'll put you at around about 31-ish, don't quote me on that, but close to that number. With my discount code. I'll leave that in the description down below. But your carrier is going to come with this little packet of hardware, and that centerpiece right there, and what that does is, if you were going to be running, let's say, smaller magazine, such as the 48 or the 43, what you would preferably want to do is take this off and feed that bolt through one of these adjustment heights here. And what that does is that gives you the ability to run the magazines at a predetermined height every single time, okay? One of the problems that I was doing was trying to adjust the tension to not only control the tension of the magazine itself, but also to its ride height. And what I found was that sometimes I couldn't be as consistent, and I wasn't as quick on my reloads from the carrier as I should be. So that's just kind of some word to the wise. Definitely, if you're going to run smaller magazines, definitely use one of these for if you're going to run like a 48 or 43. All right, guys, and that is going to be a wrap here on the Glock 48 review. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to, if you watched the original review and you came back to watch the updated review, or if you're watching this for the very first time, I want to thank you for your time. And guys, if anybody has any additional questions regarding the review or regarding any questions that I had, reach out to me. I'll try to get back in touch with you as soon as I can. In the midst of moving in my work schedule, things have been a little hectic, so just bear with me, and I will try to get back in touch with you as soon as possible. Again, I want to thank you guys for your continued support here on the channel. It really does mean the world to me. Until that next video, guys, take care Be safe.